Welcome to podcast episode 1 with The Download with Delo. I'm here with Sierra Morphet. She's a close friend of mine, my branch manager, also kind of my boss, and just an amazing person here in the mortgage space. So, Sierra, can you take us back to a time when you kind of knew when you wanted to become a mortgage broker and even do this?
Sure. I stayed at home with my kids for 7 years. So during those early ages, it was just the three of us at home. And I knew that when my youngest son was going into kindergarten, that I needed something flexible. You know, it was a situation where I didn't want it to be an extreme shock to our family or to our household by like me being gone or away all the time. So I definitely wanted the flexibility to be able to pick them up from school or be able to, go into their school events that they have, which is often. So flexibility was really important to me.
And like, what was going through your mind in your job decision?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a couple of paths. So I actually have a degree in mortuary science. And
the study of dead people.
The study of dead people, yes. And it's a true passion of mine, like the funeral industry. But it takes so much of your time, right? Like I would be away all the time, sometimes get calls out at 3:00 in the morning and not even be home until dinner or possibly after dinner the next day. So I had a couple things in mind moving forward. Funeral industry is my passion, but how can I still have a fulfilling career that's actually helping people like you do help, during funerals or grieving families. So I wanted something as fulfilling with helping someone.
And what had brought you to that space initially?
For helping people? For
mortuary science, like what brought your passion into that?
Just helping people, really. I'm kind of a biology nerd, but just helping people in general is just one of the things that fill my bucket, like as a human, and fill that space for me. So that was the main reason. Okay.
And how'd you get your first job in the mortgage space?
Yeah. So I had a buddy who's a mortgage lender on the retail side of things.
Okay.
And I just called him up and was like, hey, I'd really like to get going. But at the time, interest rates really, really skyrocketed. So he didn't have a job for me anymore because they were hardly closing anything. But I just very, very naturally stumbled upon another mortgage broker at a kid's birthday party. And he kind of heard me talking about things to my friend and was just like, hey, we'll hire you on and we'll take you on. So that's how I got my foot in the door very naturally like that.
And then starting, what was the starting experience? How was that for you?
It was very intimidating. I had to do a lot of things out of my comfort zone, cold calling being that main hurdle I feel like I had to jump through. So it was very intimidating in the beginning and a lot of nerves and a lot of, like I said, getting out of my comfort zone.
And what kept you going? Why didn't you quit at the beginning? Because you're saying it was intimidating. What was, cold calling and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Was there a lag in income? Was it consistent? How was the transition overall?
Yeah, I just definitely saw the bigger, broader picture of hanging with it. I mean, yes, it was hard. It can be a very stressful industry. But I saw the bigger picture that if I hung in with it, it was going to be fruitful as far as, finances go. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I stayed at home with the kids for so long and we were a single income family for so long. So we had everything we needed, but not everything we wanted. So that was motivation number one, was being able to pay for vacations and take more vacations than just, the one time a year. That's the motivator for sure.
And, I know most of, you guys don't know, but me and Sierra worked at our first mortgage brokerage together. And it was fascinating to watch how you overcame, call reluctancy that most mortgage lenders have, and how you just stuck with it. And now you're, talk a little bit about what you've done so far this year.
Yeah. So last year was my first full year. That's kind of when we met. With being consistent and getting out of that comfort zone and not ever staying comfortable or complacent, I produced $10 million in loans last year.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And then this year, so this being my second full year, my own production is upwards of 14 million. And I'm also running a team of 15 now. So my main goal is to take kind of these greener loan officers and control, copy, paste a little me.
Yeah.
And so that's my everyday goal is I just want them to be so successful. I want them to feel confident. I want them to experience the experience that I've had. So it's just a lot of mentoring, and I'm very excited to see what next year brings. I want to do maybe 20 mil next year.
Yeah. And now how did being a mother kind of play into that role of being a loan officer and a mortgage broker? Like, do you think that affected you at all?
I do. And I've heard from a couple people, including you, that I do kind of have like this mother hen type of vibe that I give off. And I think that's super important for people who are purchasing a home because it's stressful. Like, I think there's other people out there that constantly pitch, oh, I'm going to make this so stress-free and so carefree. And that might be true. But at the end of the day, these are people's biggest purchase that they'll ever make in their life. So there is like some stress behind that, right? There's a lot of deadlines. There's a lot of paperwork. Like there's a lot of things that are involved with purchasing a home. So I think kind of that motherly care that I have makes people feel more comfortable and makes it feel less stressful because they know mom's here and mom's going to take care of things.
That's funny too. And I think it's very appropriate for you to be on my first episode here is because I am a mama's boy. My mom definitely poured into me quite a bit to be the man that I am today. So being a nurturer, you naturally have that ability to allow people to feel comfortable with you. So that's super important. Yeah.
And I love it too. I love being someone that people could trust and look up to, and that comfort. I'm needing comfort and that motherly figure. I enjoy being that person.
Right. And now when you were working as a mortician, when you were working as a mortician, was that a W-2 job or 1099?
W-2.
Okay. W-2.
Yep.
And now when you transition over to the mortgage space, I remember we worked W-2, right, for a little bit, but switching over to kind of like that 1099 mindset, how was that for you? Switching
from W-2 to 1099 was very liberating for me. As a W-2 employee, you're mostly punching the clock, or you have to answer, to somebody, be somewhere, expected to be somewhere 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever that looks like. So transitioning into being self-employed, into like an entrepreneurship type of role, it really has set me free. Kind of feel like breaking chains here, and I don't have to constantly be answering to somebody. We all have someone to answer to, right? Like obviously my broker owners, I answer to them because they own the company, but they don't bug me very much, thankfully.
And now to touch a little bit more based on like your background, do you come from like a college educated family, money, what is your background?
Yeah, no, I don't. So maybe some furthering education. I wouldn't necessarily say like college education through my family. I want to say that I was like the first or second to actually go to college. And as far as like finances, I mean, again, we weren't super, super poor, but we definitely didn't have everything we wanted growing up. So it's been interesting to kind of live this life that I'm living now
The dream.
I'm making the dream happen. So my kids will never have to wonder what that's like or have to experience it. But all of that being said, still keep them humble.
Yeah. And now how does that affect like your parents or your grandparents, the ones that are alive? How does that affect them, like seeing you in your dream, in your space now?
They're so proud. Yeah. They're so proud. They're my number one supporters. They are constantly cheering me on in the background, constantly shouting me out to the rooftops. So I definitely have like a little village that's rallying behind me, and they're very proud.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they've been very supportive from the jump.
Yeah, they have.
Okay.
Yep. Whenever I was feeling down or kind of feeling defeated, or if I didn't know or questioning myself, I guess I would say, if I was going to make it in this industry, they definitely just told me like, keep your best foot forward, keep doing what you're doing. It'll come to fruition. And
now with that being said, how important has the environment been since you've been a mortgage broker? Mm-hmm. How important has environment been for you to be successful?
I think that culture is everything. So I'm incredibly proud of my company that I'm currently with. Our culture is everything. And I think it could really make or break a loan officer. So if you don't have that support and that good culture, you may not make it.
And what would you say for like, I want to definitely give value to, early business owners, entrepreneurs. So people who are becoming loan officers, what would you give them as far as actionable tips to be successful in the space? Yeah.
Thanks. The tips that I would give is consistency. Really, if you're consistent, it's really just a numbers game, right? So the more you output, the more you're going to have come in, and being consistent with that, because it can be peaks and valleys in this industry. There are just times where you won't be as busy, but if you're consistent, you might have like a one-off here and there, right? So consistency is key, and then get out of your comfort zone. Don't ever stay comfortable or complacent. One of my favorite sayings is that if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So keep yourself challenged, get out of your comfort zone, and stay consistent.
At our first place, we were making 30 calls, right? 30 calls, 10 talks, one meeting. Yeah. And then trying to get a lead from that one meeting.
Right.
Is just doing the task enough to be successful, or is there something else that you have to incorporate with that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a numbers game, right? But just being true to yourself. I think when I first started, I was pitching, I'm the greatest at doing what I do. And it's so easy. It's such an easy job. I could do it so easily. And then once I really started getting the ball rolling, I realized that I was done pitching that because it's not easy. And if it was so easy, anyone could do it. So it is hard. It is challenging, but that's what kind of distinguishes me from others. Because if it was just so easy, anyone could come in and do it, but it's not. So yeah, I would just say be true and authentic. And after I actually reached that point of being authentically me and not kind of putting on this show or this front, that's when I feel like my business elevated to the next level.
So when you were truest to yourself, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Is when you kind of propelled.
Yep.
Like not making any exceptions to to the fact.
Absolutely. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Stay true to you.
So Sierra, what's like a memory or experience from like the earlier days that you can think about that still makes you emotional to this day?
I would say my very first closing. It was a family, and they actually were seeking asylum here in the U.S. Coming
where?
Mexico. Okay. Yeah, some really awful, terrible things had happened to them and their family. And they came here and they started a business, a multi-million-dollar business. And they were just unsure if they ever were going to be able to live that part of the American dream and purchase a home. And we worked hard, and I got them to the closing table. So it was my first one. So I learned a lot. It wasn't an easy file. It wasn't easy borrowers. It was a lot of.
What was the biggest lessons learned for the new LOs?
For pertaining to this, or
yeah, new LOs and real estate agents, because it pertains to the whole real estate transaction, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to like go with the flow, but never stop fighting for what like you think, should happen, I guess. And there are guidelines, but you sometimes have to think outside of the box and not box check. And I feel like that's how I have a lot of success and get a lot of loans to the closing table, is because I'm an out of the box thinker. And yes, guidelines are guidelines, right? But there are certain exceptions to things. So constantly be thinking outside of the box, because not everyone, buying a home is checking every single box. So.
Right. And just so you guys know, as brokers, what we do is we actually go around through our network of lenders to find you the best financing options. Mm-hmm. And we're actually fiduciaries. So we legally work on your behalf to find you the best deal. Right?
Yep.
And that's what's going to really separate us from the majority of other, credit unions and lenders like that, where they're only selecting from a small batch of products, so to say.
Exactly. Yeah. We can shop rate, shop service, basically tailor the transaction to your needs specifically, very specific things. So
yeah, so brokers are better. So
yep.
Just throwing that out there.
It is, I think it's a little cliche, hearing it all the time, but it's the truth. In my opinion, it's the truth that brokers are better.
Yeah. And now, when did you doubt yourself? Like, do you remember a time where you doubted yourself and you had to maybe find courage to keep going and not stop during the process?
Absolutely. So it took me 5 months to close my first deal. And it's almost a half a year. So you have.
Are you getting paid at that time?
No. So commission only. So I think you definitely have that doubt, right? Of, is this for me? Am I not doing great? But you just have to remind yourself to trust the process. You really do. You have to trust the process. You have to take that leap of faith and just know that if I'm consistent and I'm doing what I need to do to bring business in and to help families, trust the process, you're going to get there. And I'm living proof of it, with year 1 and year 2 is trust the process. And I think even today, if I'm being honest, I still have doubt.
Yeah.
I always constantly doubt, like, is this for me? Am I doing right? Am I doing, what I'm supposed to be doing? But I just remind myself to trust the process, keep moving forward.
Because I remember, my first year too, I only made, I think, $12,000. Mm-hmm. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I was like, I need to go back to the dealership,
Right.
But just like you're saying, it's like having that faith that things are going to work out.
Yep.
So what was the biggest challenge? Can you share like one of the moments that you faced as a business owner or a mom, the biggest challenge that you had?
Yeah. In like the real estate industry, peaks and valleys is a challenge. So you really have to learn how to like manage your finances, because if you have like this really excellent month, right, where you're up here and closing a lot of loans, you may or may not have been consistent with finding new business, right? So after all of those close up, you're kind of back at square one, and then you have these valleys. So I think if you just look at your finances, kind of divvy up, this is what I have for the time being until I could get another deal. I'm not going to spend it all crazy, keep your debts low. That's definitely helpful. And then on the personal side of things, like being a mom, everything is a challenge. I'm new to it, they're new here. I'm new here. So we learn a lot. But it's such a beautiful thing because you're learning together, like with your kids, because this is their first time on earth and this is your first time being a mom. So You're just doing it together, and it's worth it. That's all I really have. It's worth it.
That's wonderful. And now, like, you see so many people like talk about their motivation and, why they're pushing to do the things that they do, that are like beyond themselves. Like, is faith a factor at all? Like, what has given you the motivation to just keep going besides like your kids?
Yeah. I don't think there's just one answer to that, but faith for sure. Money is obviously a motivator, but I just really want financial freedom, because as much as I love doing this, I don't want to do it the rest of my life. So like someday I want to be on a beach on a Monday or a Tuesday and not have a care in the world or a place to be or a meeting to be on. So financial freedom, I think is my biggest motivator, because one day I would love for me and my husband to be retired.
And now, do you have a timeline on that? Come on, you get,
Before 60.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of work in me still.
Yeah.
I love working. I love staying busy. Like idle hands are the devil hands to me. So I love being busy. I'm a busy bee. So I feel like I have some years to come. So I say before 60, ask me again in 10 years. It might be different.
Okay. And then also too, you just became a homeowner recently, right?
I did. Yeah.
How's that?
It's fantastic. It's a goal that I was unsure we were ever going to attain, and we did it. So just working hard, and with me being back at work, right? Because I was a stay-at-home mom, single income family, like it just was not in our cards. We could never save enough. And we're pretty uneducated about down payment assistance at the time as well. So I think it was a mix between being uneducated and then also no savings, right? Single income family. But now that I'm back at work, we're able to do it. And it's been incredible. It feels really, really great to own a home.
Soon you outpace the hub.
Yeah, that's the goal. And he's so for it too. He's so for it. He's like, I want you to make more than me. I want to stay at home. And I'm like, oh really? What are you going to do while the kids are at school all day? He's like, play video games.
Is that the dream?
It is.
And now, like, what's the legacy of love? Like, what do you think about when you think about like your family, your clients? Like, how has love played a part in that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just, love is not a bad thing, right? It's a good thing. So, when this is going to sound a little cliche, but like spread the love, it's just it's a better world. It's a better life when we're just loving one another, in the home, in your industry. And this goes true to whatever you do, right? Just always be kind, show love to everybody, and have a happier life, happier world.
And how has like having the new home been for creating space for the family?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're definitely,
how important has that been for you guys?
Yeah. It's great. Like the kids, they have a little bit more freedom to do things, right? Like, so they get to pick out their paints, for their rooms, or, make designs in their rooms that they want to do now that we actually own the home. So far, I mean, we've only been in there a couple months. We've made like a lot of memories, like core memories, like really good, we'll remember this for the rest of our life memories.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And now, touching base kind of back to entrepreneurship, like what have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned through failure?
Yeah. Failure breeds success. That's how I feel. You have to fail. Right.
So when you fail, you just don't lose? Well,
you're going to have a loss, but you're going to learn a lot. Right. And so if you make a mistake, like now, not to make that mistake again. But I really do feel like you have to have the bad to be able to appreciate the good. So when I'm down, because I have failures too, I'm not perfect. Everyone does. Right. Just try to learn something from it and experience it and go through it. It's going to be painful. It's going to suck, but you're going to come out a better person because of it.
And what would you say, like, what's the biggest failure you've overcame so far in your career, or maybe, a shortfall?
Yeah. I've made mistakes before, right, on files that are like deal killers, right? Yeah. So, maybe not doing my full due diligence, which it happens. We're human, we're professionals, and we do a darn good job, right? And we're successful and we close loans. But there are just some times that you might miss something and it can make or break the deal. But again, you learn from it and you never do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never do it again. So I guess that's the good part about it. It doesn't, it's not all bad, but it could be good too.
100%. Yeah. It's like touching that hot iron, you know?
Yeah.
You're like,
not doing that again.
You're like, ooh.
Right. Yeah. Never again.
You know, a little bit deeper for the audience. What's something that you've had to heal within yourself to become the person that you are today?
That's deep, but I like it. I think generational curses. So I come from a family that, addiction, right? So healing that part of me, or just not taking that path, I suppose. It's something that you have to like actively, not you, like I have to actively do, on like a daily basis, is just remember my past, be humbled by it and my upbringing, but also strive to be better.
Yeah, I feel like touching base on the general curses, when you're seeing, you know, things happen around you when you're younger, it's either you conform to those things or you go completely, you know, 180, the opposite against those
exactly.
things.
Yeah, the way you perceive it and what you do with it is everything, because you can hop on that train,
right?
Or you can learn that you don't want to live that type of life,
right? And be the difference that you want, right?
Yep.
That's wonderful. And like, do you have like a ritual or a daily habit that you implement every single day to be that best version of yourself when life can kind of feel like overwhelming or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that in our industry, there's definitely always work to do. You could work all day and you can never stop, and you know, there's work to do. But what I do is I make sure that I actually take that time to step away from the laptop, to maybe turn my phone off, especially in the evening, and spend time with the kids, but also spend time with just myself. So I like to go up into my bedroom, kind of lock myself in there, binge really trashy Netflix TV shows, you know, and just take that time. It's okay to step away, because if you don't, you're going to get burnt out.
So it sounds like just maybe disconnecting daily, unplugging from the stress and all the thoughts that we have every day.
Exactly. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
And now going back to your why, and when you think about your life now, what's the one thing that matters most?
Family. Family is everything. All of it. I mean, everything that we do is important, right? And our careers are important, and helping other people get into homes is important, and paying your bills is important, and trying to stay out of debt is important. But so long as you have your family is everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, you know, right now we're especially going through, you know, we're going through hard times, like as a generation, as a people, and so many people are feeling stuck. And, you know, they're probably feeling stuck in their family life, their career, their mindset. And if there's like one thing that you could say to someone who's listening that could maybe feel that way and you could change that for them, what would you say?
Life is short. Life is short. And, you know, this is kind of that funeral industry side coming out, you know, from behind the bushes here. You don't want to be somewhere you're not happy, right? So life is short. Like, take that trip, take that leap of faith, and move industries. Because, and even if it doesn't work out, right, at least you'll never have that guilt of, I didn't try. So life is short. Do what you want. Do what your heart desires.
Now, if you could give one thing for our listeners that they could do today that could, you know, improve their business, their relationships, their mindset, their lifestyle, what would that thing be?
I'm a firm believer of affirmations. So, you know, tell yourself that you're great. Tell yourself that you're motivated. Look in the mirror, you know, as awkward as it might feel, speak it out. And the more you speak it and talk nicely about yourself, or talk greatly about yourself, you're going to start to believe it. So just affirming all of these great qualities about you will help you shine.
That's very effective. I do it every day as well too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the daily brainwash. You're gonna either brainwash yourself with crud and crap,
Yep.
You're going to brainwash yourself with, the goodness and the greatness that you can be.
Yep.
So
positivity.
Which one do you want to choose?
Exactly. Yep. Positivity is everything. And once you say it enough, you're going to believe it. And that's 100% of it right there, because once you believe it, you're unstoppable.
And how important was that for you, like believing in yourself?
Yeah. I mean, once I started believing in myself, I got the confidence, and really it just started snowballing after that. So once I believed in myself, and and I'm not perfect. I'm in a different walk of life right now in my career. So I still have like those doubts, but I'm doing daily affirmations to believe that, I am a good boss. I am a good leader. I want to lead. I want to mentor. So I'm learning how to reaffirm new things in my life. And I think once I get there, again, it's just going to be next level for me.
And Sierra, for the last question of tonight is, if you could tell yourself one thing, like when you look back on your journey, your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, that crazy girl. I would tell her to be patient. Be patient. I think when we're younger, we experience things so fiercely, and it's like every, wrong thing that we experience in that age, that sensitive, vulnerable age feels like the end of the world, but it's not. Right. So like hindsight's 2020. So if I was to sit down in a room with her, I would just tell her that all of the things that she's feeling that are like end of the world things, they're not. The best is yet to come. And to be patient, because it is coming, and it's going to be a beautiful story.
That's awesome. Sierra, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Of course.
This is episode 1 with the Down Low with Delo. And Sierra, please tell people where they can find you at.
Yeah. So most all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I have a couple pages on Facebook. So I have a business page and a personal page. You could always add me on either or. I'd love to make new friends. And I'm also on TikTok for maybe only 5 more weeks if it gets banned. So follow me on there before we don't have access to it anymore. But yeah.
Awesome. And if you guys want to follow me, I love it. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. This is how it allows us to keep doing things like this. And I am D-Loans. My handle is DTown_30. And thank you guys so much for your time today.